Hello and welcome to Marketing Storytime with Momo. I am Momo, so welcome. It's good to have you here. If this is your first time here, thank you for stopping by. Grab your cup of coffee, your cup of tea, or your water, and let's have a quick chit chat. And if this is not your first time, thank you so much for coming back. It means a lot to me that you've come back. But please do well and subscribe if you're not yet subscribed. Like, comment, and share. Let's help each other with our marketing needs. So today, I'm talking about a, 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 I'm talking about what I wrote about last week on my LinkedIn page. My LinkedIn page will be, the LinkedIn article will be in the description box below, so you can click on it to read it. We're going to talk about speed today. I know, speed. And everyone is like, okay, what about speed are we going to talk about? Well, I will say this much. Someone said to me, speed without direction is an expensive motion, and that is true. I'll give you a quick story. When I first moved to the US, I always laugh about this. I didn't move to the US in the 2000s. I moved in the 90s. I know I'm not that old, so stop trying to figure out my age. But I moved in the 90s, and when I moved, I had a job interview, and I lived in California at that time. I had a job interview, and there was no Google Maps, no maps then, so there was no Waze, nothing. So you just kind of had to know where you were going. So my uncle said to me that this is where the place is. He tried to describe it for me. Please put in mind, this was my first time in the US driving. So I got in the car, and it was an interview. I had to be there. I'm just using random numbers now. I can't remember exactly. I had to be there maybe for 9 a.m. And I got into the car like 7:30. I wanted to get there early and just situate myself and know where I was going. And I kept speeding, and I felt like, okay, I want to be there. And I kept going, going, going. And at some point, I had to take a chill pill and said, Momo, this don't look like the right direction. So I stopped at a gas station to ask. And they said, oh no, you're like almost 45 minutes away. At that point, I was 30 minutes away from the interview. I've said all that to say this, that just because you're speeding doesn't mean that you're heading in the right, or you're heading to the right destination, or you're going to get there on time. So sometimes it's best to take a step back and just kind of figure out, okay, where are we going? What are we doing? And how can we do it? So that cost me that job, because I got to that job interview like about 40 minutes late. And because by the time I had to get back on track, and like I said, that was my first time driving in the US, and this was in the 90s, before anybody comes for me. There was no maps, there was no Google Maps, there was nothing. So you just kind of had to know where you were going. Anyways, so let's go back to the topic today. Speed in marketing. And people will say, what am I saying? Direction means more than speed. So I see a lot of marketing teams these days with no direction. They just feel everything has to be fast, fast. We're in the microwave era, right? Everything needs to be fast. It needs to come out fast. Campaigns need to come out fast. Campaigns need to come out fast. Content needs to be fast. Your competitor says something and you're fast to respond, or you're fast to do your own without a lot of thought process. So what I've come to realize is that speed, it hinders strategic direction. What do I mean? When we're too quick to respond or too quick to do things in marketing, it hinders a lot of strategic direction. So you're not putting a lot of thought process into it. You're reactive more than proactive. I always like to be proactive. So someone will say to me that, so if your competitor comes out with something, then what do? Your job as a marketing expert is to take a step back and then go analyze it and see what you can do. You don't always have to counter what your competitor is doing, but you can create a new direction for your company. You can come out with something better. You can come out even with a response, but put some thought process into it. Speed is not always, the answer to everything. Like, oh, we have to respond fast. No, we don't always have to respond fast. What happens when you're moving fast but in the wrong direction? Like I said earlier, it's expensive. It costs you a lot because then you don't get to where you're going on time and you get lost. And that's what happens a lot in marketing. When there's no direction, you get lost. You're just putting out information without a lot of thought process. So I'm not saying we shouldn't work fast. Working fast is very different from speed. Sometimes some people just do, speed. Like we have to just respond. We have to put out information. You don't always have to put out information. Modern marketing teams are very busy. They're, the content is going out consistently. Campaigns are being launched regularly. Dashboards are showing activity. But activity is not progress, okay? Just because you are putting out information regularly doesn't mean you're progressing. Like someone said in one of my comments on LinkedIn, the person said, that she's always asking her team, what does this equate to? What's the bottom line? Is this generating revenue? Because you can be moving fast, you can be moving with speed, you can be doing a lot of things, and then come to realize that it's not changing your bottom line. So that's why I always tell my team and people I consult with, let's take a step back and really put some thought process into it. Let us analyze the situation. Let us see what we can do differently, how we can do it differently. So it's very imperative that we do that. So sometimes we're moving fast, but it doesn't necessarily mean we're moving forward. Like I said to you earlier, I went for a job interview and I was going in the wrong direction. I wasn't moving forward. Honestly, if anything, looking back now, I was moving backwards because it cost me that interview. It cost me time, to get to where I was going. So it's very important that we're not just moving, we're not just moving fast, but we're moving forward. And part of it is also slowing down, analyzing the information we have, and then, doing what we need to do. So, uh, let's stop reactive marketing. So what does that mean? Chasing trends just because another company is doing something, we have then decided to do it. That you will cost your team a lot. Respond to competitors. I said that earlier. Don't respond to everything your competitors say. And then change messaging frequently. We shouldn't be changing our message. Your message, I talked about this last week. Your message should be consistent. Consistency is key, you know. So if you are doing things consistently and the right way, you will notice that you're not moving with speed, but you're moving with strategic precision. And that's very important. Launch campaigns without alignment. You're not sure what you're doing, you're just going with the flow. We have to launch something, we have to put something out there. It weakens long-term positioning. So I always say, let us think strategically, let's think long-term, let's analyze the situation holistically, let's look at the big picture. Let's not just look at now, what's good for us now. Let's look at how would this affect us in 6 months, how would it affect us in a year, how would it affect us in 5 years. One of the things I always say, reputation is very hard to build, but very easy to destroy. And if you're moving with speed, that can actually destroy your reputation because you're not thinking things through. You put out information that you can't back, you can't back up and then you fall flat on your face, and we don't want that, right? Marketing is a very sensitive area because you're selling something to people. You're you're entrusting your product or service in people's hands, and you want them to believe what you're doing. So it's very important. So what does strategic direction look like? High performing organizations are doing differently. That's what I want you to tell. That's what I want you to know. The likes of them Coca-Cola, them Dangotes, the MTNs, they're becoming more intentional. I think that's the right word. You need to be intentional with your marketing. You need to be very strategic and intentional. You need to put information out there that people will really like. So clear positioning, they focus on clear positioning. I said positioning earlier. You want to put out, so market understands them quickly. You want people to know this is what we're known for and put that information out there. Focus priorities, no effort, so your effort is not wasted. Another thing is narrative discipline, right? So messaging stays consistent. We talked about this last week. Consistency is very important. And then commercial alignment. So marketing supports revenue. You always want to make sure the bottom line for any marketing team is to support revenue generation. I will always say that, when I go for job interviews or I go meet clients, the first thing I always tell my clients is know that the number one priority for any team is to generate revenue. That's the bottom line. If we're not generating revenue, then there's no point of us being there. So when direction is clear, speed becomes an advantage. So that's what I want you to note. When direction is clear, speed becomes, an advantage. So you're working fast, but with direction that's clear. So let's always remember that direction needs to be very clear. If you are going in the wrong direction, it's expensive because by the time you realize, imagine going on a journey for 3 hours and then 3 hours into the journey you realize, oh, I've been going in the wrong way all this while. That's an expense. You've wasted gas, you've wasted quite a lot of things. So let us always remember that speed, it does not mean you're going in the right direction. Clear direction helps make speed an advantage. So I'll give you, if you're going somewhere, if I'm going to, let me use an example, if I'm going to Lekki and I get on Third Mainland Bridge and I'm moving fast, it's because, and I get to my destination, I'll say, okay, I was speeding and I got here fast. But that's because I knew where I was going. So when you know where you're going, it makes life easier for you. So always remember that if you know where you're going, life becomes easier. So I'm going to tell you this much. Your clients are looking for trust. They want to trust you. They're craving for trust. And if you speed through it, you might lose them. So don't speed. Take a step back, get clear direction, and then, we can move accordingly. So I've said all this to say that speed does not necessarily mean you are doing something right. Make sure if you're speeding, you have clear direction. Direction is it works well. What's that word I'm looking for? Direction helps with speed, so they're sisters, or brothers, or however you want to pair them. With clear direction, you're moving with speed, you have a dynamic marketing team. However, if you don't have clear direction, then you get lost, and that's an expensive motion, like someone said to me on my LinkedIn page. When direction is clear, execution becomes easier, messaging becomes stronger, trust builds faster, and growth becomes more predictable. So let's have direction. So direction is what helps speed to be successful. Okay? So I'll say this, marketing is not a race. It is not a race. I'm going to say it is discipline. It is a discipline. It is discipline. It is discipline. I can't say that enough. So the brands that will win will not be the fastest. They will be the most focused, aligned, and intentional. So please always remember that. Focused, aligned, and intentional. I hope with these few points of mine, like I always say, I've been able to convince you and not confuse you that just because you're speeding doesn't mean you're going in the right direction. Take some time off and get clear direction, and that will make your speed more meaningful. Okay? All right. Take care and God bless. Till I see you next time, take care. Bye. Bye for now.